The Haywood Community College Library presents Plagiarism. What's the big deal? Here's some questions to get started. Would you ever steal a car? Would you ever rob a bank? These may seem like silly questions, but plagiarism is theft. It involves stealing from someone else, either ideas, words, images, or sounds, and lying about it later. The actual definition of the word plagiarize means to steal and pass off as one's own the ideas or words of another, to use without crediting the source, or to commit literary theft. Plagiarism has become a hot topic in the news recently. Here is just a small sampling of headlines concerning plagiarism and its consequences. Plagiarism most often occurs on college campuses, but it can follow you into the working world. It can cost you an education, like Blair Hornstein, who lost her acceptance to Harvard when she plagiarized her admissions essay. It can also cost you a job, as it did Jason Blair of the New York Times when he fabricated news stories. So it may seem like everyone else is doing it, but don't fall into the trap of plagiarism. We're going to look at some examples of plagiarism, but first, here are 2 questions to get you thinking. Is it cheating if you've written a paper for your English 113 class and you ask your friend to proofread it for you? Is it cheating if on the first day of class you find out that the final paper is on a topic you already wrote a paper for last semester, so you decide to reuse that paper and add a new cover page? Let's take a second to find out. We call the first example of plagiarism the pinch hitter, where you copy someone else's work or idea word for word and pass it off as your own. Whether you copy the paper yourself, have a friend write a paper for you, or download a paper online, you're still trying to pass someone else's work off as your own. The second example we call the patchwork quilt. It involves copying and pasting portions of text from several different sources to create one document. The third example is the thesaurus rex. You copy a portion of text and use synonyms to replace keywords in the document. You've not restated the information in your own words, but simply changed the word house to the word home. The text still maintains its original content. The fourth example of plagiarism is called attack of the clones. It is similar to the patchwork quilt in that you are pasting together information from several sources. The difference with attack of the clones is paraphrasing from various sources and pasting those paraphrases together to create one document. The fifth example is called the doppelganger. This form of plagiarism is where you submit a paper for one class that you used in a previous class or previous semester. The last example of plagiarism is called the bait and switch. This tends to be the most typical form of plagiarism on college campuses. The bait and switch involves creating fake citations, listing sources in your bibliography that you didn't actually use in your paper, or providing inaccurate or incomplete citation information. Now that you know the different types of plagiarism, let's play a little game to help you explain them better. On the first day of class, you learn that the final paper is on a topic you wrote a paper for last semester for another class. You print off a new copy and turn it in with a new cover page. Plagiarism or not plagiarism? That is in fact plagiarism. You haven't added any text or taken away any text from your original paper. You're just resubmitting it for another class. That is actually plagiarism. You've written a research paper for your English 113 literature-based research class. You ask your friend to proofread it. Is that cheating or not cheating? That is in fact not cheating. Having a friend look over your paper is perfectly fine. If your friend makes suggestions or adds information to your paper, you will need to cite your friend as a source. The next question. You're supposed to have 9 sources for a paper. You only use 7 in your research, so you enter in 2 additional sources you didn't actually use in your bibliography. Is that plagiarism or not plagiarism? That is in fact plagiarism. That's an example of the bait and switch, where you add additional sources that you didn't actually use in your paper. Next, After reading several book chapters and articles on the fall of the Roman Empire for a Western Civ class, you decide that none of them considered climate change. You put climate change in as your thesis statement about the fall without any citations. Is that plagiarism or not plagiarism? That is in fact not plagiarism. This is what an original idea is. You've done research, and there are many historians that argue the fall of the Roman Empire was based on military, economics, government, but no one discussed climate change. That is now your original idea to research. As you're writing a paper, you copy and paste into Word from different online journals, books, and web pages. You go back and reword a lot of what you copied and rearrange the information so it makes sense. Since you changed a good percentage of what you brought into your paper, you decide not to cite the sources. Plagiarism or not plagiarism? That is in fact plagiarism. Even though you changed stuff around and reworded a little bit of it, you still didn't come up with that idea on your own. That is plagiarism. It's the night before a paper is due, and you have a quote in your paper that is really good, but you can't find the book or article where you got it. You decide to pass the quote off as your own idea and not cite it. It's just one quote after all. Is that plagiarism or not plagiarism? That is in fact plagiarism. It wasn't your quote to begin with. As easy as it is for you to Google quotes, it's just that easy for your instructor to follow up on that. So be careful. This is where asking a librarian to help you can really be beneficial. Now that you know about the different types of plagiarism to avoid and have some examples of it in real life, what's the big deal? Why would you want to avoid plagiarizing? At Haywood Community College, plagiarism comes with some real costs. Depending on the instance of plagiarism or how many times you get caught plagiarizing, you could lose a passing grade on an assignment, you could lose a passing grade for a course, and you can earn yourself a trip down to Dr. Leatherwood's office. Dr. Laura Leatherwood is the Vice President of Student and Workforce Development, and part of her job is to address student code of conduct violations. This includes cheating and plagiarism. If Dr. Leatherwood's sanctions result in a W, an F, or a WF for the course, you could lose financial aid or scholarship awards. You can even miss out on earning a certificate, diploma, or degree from Haywood Community College. And plagiarism will follow you to any school you attend after HCC. Is cheating on an assignment really worth that much? What can you do to fight plagiarism? What can you do to avoid this? First, you can know the differences between quoting, paraphrasing, and original ideas. Quoting is to repeat or copy word for word from an author or person of authority. When you quote a source, you use the quotation marks at the beginning and ending of the information you wish to quote. You then cite that source. Paraphrasing is to reword or restate the meaning of a text in another form. To paraphrase a section of a book, read that information, think about what it means, and then reword that information using your own words. Then, cite your source. Even though you have used your own words to describe or explain something, you did not come up with the original idea. You only paraphrased. An original idea is just that, an original idea. It is a thought, a process, a theory, a piece of music, an idea that no one else had before. The second way to beat plagiarism is to cite your sources. Citing sources is important for three big reasons. 1. Citing your sources shows respect to an author. A person spent a lot of time and energy to get their work published. Someday you may be a published author, and you would want the same respect. 2. Citations act as breadcrumbs for other researchers. You come across an article that you want to use to write your paper. Look at the end of that paper to their references, works cited, or bibliography page. There, you'll find a list of sources that the author used to write their article. You can look up those sources to use for your own paper. These are citations. They are the breadcrumbs for your research. It's almost like these authors have already done some of the research for you. 3. Citing your sources is the quickest way to avoid being accused of plagiarism. Just remember, when in doubt, cite it out. You can't oversight your paper. What does a citation look like? Here's an example of a citation for a journal article. Citations tell you who wrote the information, where it can be found, who or what entity published it, when it was written, and how long it is. Citations will vary in what they look like depending on the type of source you use. If it is a book, a newspaper article, a sound recording, a film, an interview, or a website. Regardless of the type of source you have, you will need the same information to cite it. You need to know the author, the title, when it was published, who published it, and how many pages it is. Do you need help citing your sources? There are several places you can get help for this. The first place you can turn is the library. Believe it or not, we actually went to school to learn to help with citations. And we really like helping students. The library is located in the 200 building on campus, top of the hill, or the building with the glass front. Give us a call at 828-627-4550 or email us at library@haywood.edu. The second place for help is NC Knows. You can chat with a real reference librarian 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. NC Knows can be accessed through the library's website at www.haywood.edu/library. The third place for help is the Teaching and Learning Center. They are located in room 338A of the 300 building, which is just next door to the library. You can certainly give them a call at 828-627-4696. Lastly, don't forget to ask your academic advisor or instructor. We are all here to help you succeed, so please feel free to ask for help. Thank you, and that's it.